Welcome back to today's show. I want to introduce you to a really good friend of mine. His name's Jag Jassel. He's an international speaker. He's somebody that runs businesses all around the world, been very successful. I know him as the blockchain guy. I wrote the foreword to his book. I've got it somewhere, just sitting behind me, actually, I think, Jag. But anyway, it's exciting to have you in here, man. I think the audience really wants to understand about building businesses. I know you've built a couple very successful businesses, and you're somebody who knows a lot about side hustles. You know a lot about making things happen. And I think the thing that impresses me most, and I wrote this down, why do I want Jag on here on this show? Your ability to implement and your ability to be able to be okay with misses and to keep going and to pivot, it's pretty exceptional. So welcome to the show, brother, and thanks for spending some time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm sort of looking forward to this chat. I know a lot of things are going to come up, which is pretty cool.
It is cool. Well, let's start a little bit with you giving us a brief intro of you, who it is that you help, what you focus on, and give us your little story.
All right, so very quick, I come from a corporate background. So I was, raised from society to be taught to go to the university, do my degrees, masters, graduate diplomas. After that, I started working for the corporate world, and that's how I got started. Started as a programmer in technology world, and then did my masters, and then worked for companies like IBM, Oracle's. Worked as an enterprise architect. That was my last job. But along the way, I did a lot of side hustles. So I failed in 13 startups and then managed to succeed in a couple of them after that. But I think the entire journey has been unlearning the things I learned at school and the university, and learning the different way of thinking, which wasn't taught at the schools and the unis. That was the biggest thing, because I was raised in a system. So getting out of the system and thinking differently was the biggest thing.
Yeah. It's a big thing for a lot of us. And I think those of us that can see out of the system and are willing to make that next step, it's bigger than we anticipate.
True. I think it's the biggest thing is it's just that I now look back in my life, I didn't actually have any visibility of you could actually make money and live life like this as well, like the way you've been living for many, many years now. So I didn't actually have the knowledge. I didn't even know that somebody wrote books about that as well. I didn't know that somebody's there. I could actually go out and ask for help. Yeah, because in the schools and unis, when you go back and ask for help, I was saying, this is the way we're supposed to be doing, and that's it. There is no other way. And if you look at other people and other businesses or what they're doing, I was told it's a plagiarism. You can't copy other people.
Right.
But that doesn't work in the business world, right? You go and ask people for help. And you pretty much do it the way they've done it.
That's it.
Yeah. So
it's a massive difference, Jag. And a lot of times I talk about the difference between a scientist, an academic, and then an entrepreneur, and then an artist.
Yes.
And it's so different, isn't it?
It's huge.
Yeah. Where in one hand, you're supposed to never copy anyone else, do your own work. And then you get into the business world, and if you're not looking at what others are doing, you're going to get left behind if you're not copying and innovating on what they're doing. So it's really.
Absolutely. Look, I think one of the biggest contributor for my not being able to succeed in so many businesses was because I was trying to do everything by myself.
Right.
It's plain and simple. Trying to think that everything I need to figure out by myself. I didn't even look at who's doing it, who's my competition, who's out there. I could actually go and ask for help.
Man, that's the schooling system again, isn't it? You don't get to bring in a staff member to help you with your test. When you're in a job, it's your performance that gets you the promotion, So it's built into you, man.
Yeah. So we sort of trying to squeeze everything. So, the way I thought is if I go and tell people what I'm working on, they might steal my ideas.
I know, right?
And I was like, now I look back, I was like, holy crap, right? That was everything. I was doing pretty much everything against not to build a business.
Yeah.
How can I be successful?
You had 13 failed startups, and then obviously that means that you must have had a 14th that actually worked. So, and I know that you're not allowed to talk about too much of the details, but give us the brief overview of the company, the
Yep.
size you grew it to, and what it is you actually did well.
Yeah, so I think that company where we started. So I went to, like, you know the story. So I went to Tony Robbins, and he said, you don't need to reinvent the wheel, and find out who has done it, and just go and look at and see what they've done and do it. So we did the same thing, right? So we started this company because I come from a corporate background. I saw a big problem in the corporate world because at the time we were talking about cloud. Everybody in a corporate world wanted to move their data from on-site to the cloud environment. But one thing which I saw that everybody was doing, or the corporates were doing, they're moving the data manually. So they were hiring people in India, Philippines, China to do the work overnight, spend weekends. The outage goes on Friday night, and the system come back on Monday morning, and they were doing manually. Everybody was doing manually. And my team, working for Oracle, was in India and Philippines. They were doing manual work as well. So I knew the system at the back end, how they were doing. So what we said is, why don't we just put our software together and save a bit of time? And what we did is we came out of Oracle after sort of 2015, and we said, okay, this is what we're going to do. We put our software together. We went to a couple of people, and I showed them the plan. This is what I want to do. And those two people were really good. One guy was a project manager, and he was a program manager working for Oracle as well. He was a really nice guy. He said, okay, I'll leave my job as well. I like the idea. What are you doing? And I'll leave my job. And I said, okay, you are the guy who's going to go and talk, and I'm the guy who's going to design the system, and we'll get a programmer, somebody else out there who can actually program everything, because I didn't know the technical stuff. So we hired a guy who could actually help us do the work, software and everything. So overall, what we did is we sort of used to take time for about 40 hours to do the work. We reduced the time to 2 hours. So I knew one thing in the industry by that time was there's only two excuses people have: time and money. That's it. They're the biggest excuses. And we said, we won't let them have that, because we'll save time and we'll save money. And, we do everything in 2 hours. That was the biggest thing. And now once we designed it, the other problem came is how to go out and tell the world, like how to actually market it. So I read a book by a Salesforce book. I can't remember the name of the book, but the book was by the guy who actually started Salesforce, and exactly his strategy is what he did. And we said, okay, let's go and copy and let's see what this guy has done, because we are pretty much in the same boat, what he did. So one of the thing which we picked it up from that book was what I was doing, and my biggest mistake was we were trying to sell that software to the people who are managers, CIOs or CTOs of the company, because we were pitching to them. And they were like, nah, this is not good. We don't, all the excuses were coming up. And one time we presented to Telstra, they came back after 8 months. And we said, we can't survive for that long. We're going to get killed, because this software we developed with our own money is going to die very soon. Let's go out and do the other way around, the way the book says. Book said, rather than targeting the manager, the CIO, the technical people, or right at the top, let's go out and speak to the people who are actually doing the work. Speak to the people who are actually executing it. So we started going to the meetups. We started speaking to the people who were actually executing the work. And those guys said, okay, this is pretty cool. Like, we spent so much time. Can we have your software? I said, yep, take it away and use it. And then they started using it. And then, the rest of the story after that is just they said to their manager, they sold it for us rather than we trying to sell it. And one of the companies came out after that. They said, okay, would you like to sell it? I was like, yeah, why not? Take it away, please. If I had my own way, if I had what I know today, I wouldn't have sold it. That's given.
Yeah.
If I had known what I know today, no. I think that was one of the other things which I didn't do it right, but yeah.
Well, it gave you space for what it is to move into next, I guess. And just so the listeners know, when Jag says he sold it, it was multiple seven figures that he was able to sell this for. So very good exit, and a very, very, very big thing. So what would you do differently? You said, you wouldn't sell it the same way this time. What would you do?
Look, I think one of the things which I would do differently is understand the power which we had. I think we sold ourselves very small. we thought that we are not that big enough. We saw ourselves really little compared to the people who actually got and bought us, right?
Yeah.
I think if I look back, we had a huge power. We could have actually changed the entire industry. But I didn't see it at the time. I saw myself really small person
Yeah.
compared to the corporate world. And I think
Yeah.
that was the biggest thing. So building myself along the way would have been much, much better. If I had the power I had today, things would have been very different, because now I see myself a huge person who can do anything. At the
Yeah.
time, I didn't have that much belief.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
It's such an important lesson that you put in there. Is about seeing ourselves as big as the results are actually getting. My tennis coach said this to me about 3-4 months ago, Jag, and it stuck with me. We're doing serves, and he said, well, why are you still hitting a second serve? So if people don't know tennis, second serve, you put a lot of topspin on it. It doesn't have as much power, but because of the spin, you can put it way higher over the net and it spins down. And so it's a very safe serve. You don't really miss that many. He said, why are you still doing second serves? Why aren't you going to whack it? And why don't you really give your first serve? Because basically his idea is, Chris, if you can hit a good second serve 8 out of 10, you may as well give your first one a big crack. See if you really hit a really good first serve, which maybe you can hit 1 out of 3 in the right place, but you've always got a second serve to back it up. And my answer was this. I said, well, my second serve's not that good. And he said, oh, okay, cool. And he didn't say anything. He said, right, let's hit 20 second serves. I was like, all right, cool. I thought I'd passed what he was talking about. So I'm hitting these serves, Jag. I think I put 18 or 17 or 19 or something of these second serves in. And he goes, so how many did you just get in? I said, oh, I don't know. And he said, I was counting. You put 18 in. And I said, oh, really? He goes, so why wouldn't you do a first serve in the game? And I said, oh, well. He goes, see, here's what happens. And this was the lesson. He said, sometimes your ability has improved, but your mindset is still back where you used to be. He said, your psychology has to catch up with your actual skills.
True. Absolutely. Completely agree. Look, I think, if I look back, that I wasn't grown at that level. I was still thinking myself as an employee. I was thinking myself as a very small person compared to the big giants out there. So that was a big learning curve.
It is. And so you did that. You exited that company. And what have you been doing since? Like, where's your focus now?
Look, in the middle, we started a blockchain company as well. We were teaching people blockchain. That was pretty cool. That was very successful. We did a lot of global work. And that was, again, coming to the education world. So think of that scenario, right? So I've never taught anybody before. I was consultant. I was teaching people. I was doing doing the work, actually executing the work on client sites. Then I thought, what do I actually want to do? What do I actually like doing it? And one of the things came up is I love teaching. So I need to come to a teaching world. So that's where the blockchain teaching started. And that's where we got connected as well as part of that, right? So teaching blockchain was pretty amazing. I didn't know anything before that. I was teaching or doing my webinars. I remember 2017 or middle of 2017 as Eastern Europe and other countries, and people just buying stuff. They were just buying it, whatever I was selling in that space. I think I got in at a pretty good time, and time was pretty good. But also, I remember people were hungry on those countries. They wanted to learn. They wanted to see what's going on. So that was an amazing journey until last year or middle last year, when Facebook, LinkedIn, and everything pretty much blocked everything. So couldn't sell anything in that space at all. That was the second journey. So what we do today, I run a marketing company called Jassel Media, pretty much applying all those skills which we have learned, or I have learned in the last couple of years, helping people or helping our businesses take it to the next level. So pretty much all the strategies which we learned, we now help other clients.
That's awesome. Marketing's a very big passion of mine, as you know, and a lot of people can't get it right. And so it's funny because I think sometimes we can start businesses based on empathy, where if we can understand the problem, we can understand the client so well. However, we can then build a good business around it. So it's sometimes it's a good place to go for. I know that's definitely true for me.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's the same for you, man, which is which is really good. So let's talk in the startup space, right? Obviously, you're very good at starting. You started something, you exited it, you've started multiple things. I've seen you start and stop multiple things. You're good at taking an idea, putting it, seeing if it works. And from my perspective, you're a scientist. I see you testing and measuring and testing and measuring. But walk us through, what's really important about in startup, and then let's talk about marketing after that.
Yep. So I think the startup is, I'm always looking for, blue ocean strategy. So if you haven't seen or read the book called The Blue Ocean, right? So it's a blue ocean strategy. I can't remember the name of the author, but that's the book. I'm always looking for something which is different, what's not been explored that much, right? So, and I do that with pretty much every business I do it. I don't actually go and trying to sort of get into the market and then see what I can do differently in that space. Every business I did was very different, right? So I'll give you an example. I built my first platform was a job search platform was in 2001 when Seek wasn't even around, right? I've given that for free to the university, like Monash used it, Swinburne used it, Deakin used it for like 3-4 years before Seek became famous. So I think, and every other platform I built it based on there was nothing out there. So similar to the education, what we're doing as well, very different strategies. Nothing's been sort of tried. And it's just me sort of coming from external, like, if you look at an example of marketing now, I certainly can't claim to be a marketing expert in a couple of years, right? But what I do is I see things differently compared to the other people, because when you're in industry, right, when you've been doing something for a long, long time, you become sort of so used to doing the things in the way that people do it, right? So to give you an example of this, in the industry, when I came in there, it's very common that we sort of, have those squeeze pages, have all those sort of stuff where people put their email address, download stuff. And I don't like that just because it takes too long to get the results, right? And I don't want, put a squeeze and you build your database, which is good. But when you're trying to sell to people, that it takes, by the time you're trying to give something to those guys, it's just already a month, into the journey, and they probably have forgotten about you. So I think what I do now is differently is I use or work with the Facebook or LinkedIn kind of people and put my content in front of the people straight away rather than waiting for the month, right? So it works so well. Put my videos out there, give it to the people, and then put my call to action in the same time. So that's been the strategy for that space as well. But in a startup world, if I go back and talk, I think the biggest thing for me has been just finding the right market or finding that blue ocean. Where can I actually get into, or where I can add value? Where is the problem? What people are looking for, right? That kind of thing.
Yeah. And by blue ocean, give the audience a little rundown on that book or that strategy. Yeah.
So what blue ocean means is like if you look at a marketing space, if you look at business space out there, as in that book, it talks about there is only 3 markets, right? There is a health industry, there is a health relationship industry, and there is a money industry or business industry where people want to make money. But all these markets out there is being exploited. There's a lot of sharks out there, and he calls it in the book called the red ocean, where ocean's been blooded by a lot of people because there's a lot of sharks out there. But within those markets, there's sub-markets, whereas market hasn't been either there's not that many players in the market, and the market is very new market. That could be anything, right? So that's the difference between blue ocean and red ocean. Blue ocean is not that many people out there, and the red ocean is, there's a lot of sharks out there already doing the work, and it's really, really hard. And most of the businesses, what they do is they're trying to work through that market, trying to work through the red ocean and trying to get money out of that space and trying to make money in that space, which is really hard. I try to do the same thing, and because didn't know that much about the marketing at the time. But since I read that book and a few other books, made a big difference the way I see the world now.
Yeah, right. And that's important, really important for us to find that. And I think the bit that I really liked about what you said is that you can find, sub places where there is still a blue ocean inside of what might look like it, because you got to find your own, I call it a hidden market. You got to find that place that there is space for you, and listen to what they want. I think Frank Kern says it best, to find out what they want, find a way to give it to them.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Look, I think it's amazing the way we do the businesses. It's like when we come from a school or university background, and I was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
My entire life, I got a job based on my skill set.
Yes.
If I wasn't skilled, I wouldn't have gotten the job.
True.
So when I started a business, I thought the same rule applies.
True.
That I need to be skilled at something to become a business person.
Yeah.
And I need to be skilled at this. I need to be skilled at building platforms. I need to be skilled at sales. I need to be skilled at marketing. I need to be skilled at things.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. And that was my biggest learning. It's like, go and find what's missing in the market or what they're looking for, what their problem is.
Yeah.
See how you can actually fill that gap, whether it's based on your skill set or whether it's getting the skill set from somebody else.
I like this. This is great. So tell me, if you don't, what skills do you need to be successful, in your opinion? I mean, obviously, there's things you have to do as a CEO and as an entrepreneur. What are they?
Look, I think there's heaps of stuff, and also you probably know that by now is these skills are different at different levels of the business as well, right? So, depending which stage of the business you're at. Like in the starting skills, if you look at it, I think when you're just starting out, it's just the startup. The first skill you really need, it's like 99% sales skills. 99% sales skills. You need to be good at sales. Given. If you're not good at it, learn it. Find somebody who can help you with that. Because what we do, coming from any startup, we do it. We sort of work on making a product better.
Yeah.
Want to make better things, like better my coaching thing, better my whatever products you're selling. You're trying to make that better. But better is only good when they bought it. Right? You need to make them buy it. So, it's like McDonald's, a perfect example. Are they selling better burgers than any other places? Probably not.
Don't think so.
They still sell it, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like how you position yourself. I think first startup terms, I would say sales. You definitely need sales. And then after that is relationships, very important. I think at the next level, I would say you need, which I'm not really good at, and I'm working on this now. If you talk about what I'm working on today, what are the things I'm working on? I'm working on building relationships, because I think the next level of the business is you really need to build relationships with the employees, people around you, clients, whatever, but you need to know how to build relationships.
True. I love that you focus in on sales, because it's not just selling to customers. It's selling to an investor, maybe to a bank. Yep. It's selling your wife or your husband that this is going to be a good thing. It's selling yourself.
Yep.
And it's also selling that first core team, because the first core team kind of have to do it for the love of it. You don't normally have a lot of money, so most of them are working pretty much close to minimum wage or for stock. So you've got to do a lot of sales, and it's consistent. And you got to sell the vision. So selling an influence, I would agree. I would 100% agree with that. It's a big thing. Let's move into a couple of these questions that I ask everyone. The first one is a time travel moment. And I think this is a great question, because it allows us to get some insight. If we were starting out, what you might do now. So if you could go back to the beginning of the journey, let's say 20 years back, so it's 99.
Yeah.
What would you tell yourself? What advice would you give?
The advice I would give is be patient, right? I think that's my biggest advice for myself. I was pretty hard on myself.
Yeah.
I was way too hard on myself. I had different standards. I was like, I have to study hard. I have to work till this time. I was doing 2 jobs and was doing my master's at the same time. Knocking on the doors of people's houses, selling Optus phone plans. But also was studying at the nighttime as well. So I think I would say just calm down, just enjoy the journey. Don't be too harsh.
You'll get there, sort of thing, right?
You'll get there. Everything is going to work out itself. Don't try to plan everything. Don't try to do that sort of stuff. I think I was very strategic. Need to be planned stuff, need to do stuff in a certain way. And some of the times when I did that, I actually killed my creativity.
Yeah, right. And it's easy to when you try to control the outcome.
Yeah, I was controlling everything.
You know, it's such a good point, Jag. We could probably talk about this again, and I'm going to have you back on the show to talk more about that, because I know that you just spent 10 days, you know, in a silent meditation, and that you've got a lot to talk to us about intuition and those things. And a lot of times at the beginning of people's journey, they're very this is how it's going to go. I've got to work hard. I've got to do this, and more like forcing it. And I guess you do need some of that energy, and at other times, just the belief that you are going to get there is important too.
Yeah, look, I think I read a book a while ago called Power versus Force.
Yeah, it's a great book.
Right, it's just pretty much the same thing what we're talking about. Earlier, I was actually forcing everything in my life. I was forcing relationships. I was forcing my studies. I was forcing the jobs I was doing. I was forcing everything.
Yeah,
I didn't have any power in that space. So what I'm doing now is just moving to that power space. How do I attract things? How do I align things like that sort of space? Very different, right? So if you look at the book, he's got a really good diagram, which he explains really well. So check it out if you like books.
I've got it behind me. I think I might even have the some of the map of consciousness sitting up here too, right behind my chair. So it's one of my top 10s. It didn't make the top 5, that book, just because of the density of it. But it's
too much. Like, I think I could actually sum it up, that book, in 3 pages.
yeah. It's a good one though. Yeah. We'll put it in the show notes for people to go have a look, as well as I'll figure out what the Salesforce book is and pop that in there too. So, what's freedom to you, Jag? Like, how would you describe freedom?
Look, I think freedom for me is being able to do things whenever I want to do it, whoever I want to do it with, and also having the choice as well. So earlier in my life, because I worked at really good positions in the corporate world, I didn't have a money problem, which I was lucky enough because I was getting paid really good. And I didn't have a job problem as well because I didn't actually have I didn't have the normal problems like most people have it, the money problems, time problems. You know, people can't spend time with the family because they have to work 8 till 8 at work. I didn't have all those sort of problems because my work was really good. I could actually work from home whenever I wanted to. But the only thing I didn't have at the time was the freedom of choice. I could choose where I want to spend time. Right. I had clients, I had meetings, everything was designed by corporate world. And the other thing, when my son was born, I started to ask this question, right? Is that it in my life? Is that the only thing I'm going to do? Or is there any bigger things I'm going to do in my life? I think when I started asking those questions, then I started to go and find the answers. And one of the biggest answers I found, I think at the time, was in the last 15 years of my life, if you look back, I can give you my CV. You can look it on my LinkedIn, that what I have done. But I can't show you anything. There is nothing to show. There is nothing there unless I tell the story, unless I tell people that what I did, then people know that. So now I look back, if I leave this world, those 15 years of my life are gone.
Wow.
They're missing.
Yeah.
They're not there. But I'm not going to be here to tell the story. And nobody knows what I did unless they look at my LinkedIn profile. So those things just came up to my mind. I was like, holy crap, I can't even tell what I was doing on this date. So there was nothing there is no record of that. There's no videos, there's no written, nothing at all.
Yeah, right.
At 15, I started to write, and I wrote pretty much every day. And now I write so much that I could actually do a book in every 10 days if I want to. Just because for one reason, right? I don't want to miss any moment. That's the reason I do videos. There is no other reason. The only reason I do is just because when I'm gone, there is something to look back. That's it.
Wow.
Right. So, that was I don't know what was the question, but I've gone on tangent.
And I love your passion for that, because I truly believe that too many people are missing out on life. That they're trading it for a paycheck or sacrificing it for something else. And to me, freedom is the most important thing, and not freedom necessarily to sit on the beach and drink cocktails, although that is nice at times. freedom to be yourself, freedom to do what you know, to do what you love. So thanks for that perspective. It was a good one. So if the listeners out there and they're getting inspired, what is one thing that listeners should do to make movement towards their freedom today?
One thing, and I think the only thing which I would believe in, which helped me way too much, is called the massive action. You know, what we do is, or what I was doing as well, is we want to think through everything. We want to know everything, what's going to happen. We want to see the path before we start walking on the path. We want to see the end outcome today before even doing it. So what we do is we create stories. Like we build up stories in our mind, right? How the end is going to look like. And sometime the story is right, we started doing the stuff. And if the story is not right in our mind, we stop doing the work. So I truly believe the massive action is the biggest thing people can do. And stop thinking too much. Overthinking is, mind is there, you use it, but to solve a problem, not to just think about random stuff, right? So just start taking action. Don't make up stories. And once you start taking action, if there is a problem, solve that problem using your brain, but don't use it to think like stuff. Because, you know, like I think you understand it really well, but no, I don't know what people don't understand. It's like I understood the same thing by reading a lot of books is, you know, brain's there to help you solve stuff. It's not there to make you successful. It's just given, right? It's not there because it's a survival brain, right?
Yeah, right.
It's not there to make you successful. If we want to be successful, you can't ask our brain to give you the path of success, because your brain is only going to tell you what's in the past you have gone through.
Sure.
Right. So I think I would highly recommend people, you know, don't think about it. Just take massive action. If you see something, you want to, you know, go towards that thing, just go and do it. One of my friend, when I was speaking to him the other day, one of the things came out, the conversation was like, you know, what happens is when you walk in the, you know, say apple farm, or you want to get the apples or oranges from the farm, you can't just go and, you know, stand on the corner and look at the apple tree and say, you know, fall the apples, please, in my hands. You have to go and collect it. Apples are there. You've done the work, and you've done a lot of work, and apple tree is grown. Now apples there. The only thing you have to do is just go and get the apples now. So you have to walk the path, and you have to go and grab the apples, right? You have to do the work. Most people stop at the end. They do the work. They plant the tree. They do all the work. When the time comes that they need to walk on the path to get the apples, they just stop.
Because maybe the path looks scary, or maybe you know they're not sure what the next step's going to be. They can see it. Maybe they don't believe the path will get them there. Yeah, I hear you. There's lots of reasons, isn't there? Really?
I think it's crazy that people, I think they want to get all the answers today. Or they do anything. So I think you won't get it. And nobody get it. I think even Einstein didn't have the answers. He was just
no. I think he couldn't even do math.
Right? So none of these people have the answer. They just do, and they jump into the pool and they do the work.
Figure it out. No, I love it, and it's a great place for us to pause our conversation today. And we're going to have you back on, because I've got so many more things I'd like to talk about. I mean, we covered a lot today: the blue ocean strategy, you know, find the right market. Stop doing it yourself, taking massive action. We could have just kept on going, man.
Absolutely.
Which is, I think, true for both of us. There's a lot to share here. And I think the thing is, we can really get your passion for entrepreneurship. And I know that you know that it's helped you a lot in becoming a business owner and changing the world. So do you have any final or parting comments for this episode of Total Freedom TV that you want to leave with people?
Absolutely. Look, I think I'll sort of go back and reiterate what I said earlier, that, you know, people stop sort of wasting time and stop trying to find the answers, because none of us, even, you know, I don't claim that I've got all the answers. And I'm sure, Chris, same sort of apply to you as well.
Oh, no, I have all the answers, man.
Is it? Okay. You're better than me then.
Just so everyone knows it.
That's good. So you're the better. Get
so if Jag doesn't have them, don't worry. Just go. No, just kidding. I do not have all the answers.
So, you know, we don't know everything. But what happens is we know how to figure it out. When the problem comes, we'll figure it out.
That's true.
Yeah, that's the way we need to look at the world. That that's fine, but don't make the problem in your mind. The problem has to be real in the world, right? Don't make it up. People like some of the times I'm going to tell you this. Some of the time people ask these stupid questions. They never manage any team. They never had anything. They're just starting out. They ask a question: how do I manage 10 people in my team? It was like, how many people you have in the team? None yet. Well, you don't have that problem today. So why are you asking that question? Don't ask those questions, and so ask the question, you'll get the answer for sure, but don't create a problem, right? So, fine. Don't start thinking about stuff. Just take action, right? Work towards it.
I love it, brother. And thank you so much for your time. I'm sure that, people can connect with you all over social media, and we'll leave all of those links and everything here. I'm sure that you spend most of your time, I think, on LinkedIn and Facebook, don't you? Yeah. So
LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, pretty much everywhere.
Yeah. So guys, reach out and connect with Jag. He's got a lot to share. He puts a lot of great content across his channels. I look at a lot of it. So I think you'll enjoy it as well. And, thank you, Jag, for spending some time. And thank you for listening and coming back to the show. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you on the next episode.